You must be using a project lifecycle on your projects, or is it rather a delivery lifecycle? What am I saying here? You definitely use a project management lifecycle. Or, no, wait, it is probably a product lifecycle. Or are you just like me sometimes confused? Well, let me try to demystify the concept project lifecycle in this short educational video. Hello, project managers and project management professionals. My name is Steven and I'm a certified project management professional. For more than 20 years now, I have been managing small and large projects. Today, we will have a chat on the concept of project life cycles. Stay tuned until the end, as I will also explain for what purposes I specifically use these project life cycles. The PMBOK guide confronts us in chapter 1 on page 19 with the project lifecycle concept. Literally, a project lifecycle is the series of phases that a project passes through from its start to its completion. Well, taking that definition into account, it seems clear that the project lifecycle relates to the timeline of the project. Indeed, its purpose is to structure the project's timeline into smaller periods of time, in which similar and related work will be planned for. See a project life cycle of a project a little bit as the life cycle of us, humans. We also have different stages in life with each different characteristics and different ways how we act and behave. Just think about the baby stage, childhood, teenager, young adult, etc. And we all know that it is a very good idea not to handle a teenager as a baby. But why would you actually use a concept like life cycle also in your project management? Well, in first instance, and above all, to manage complexity. An important technique in management complexity is as simple as make the problem smaller. Decompose the timeline in smaller periods of time makes less complex. But it doesn't make the project less complex, it makes it actually more manageable because it is smaller. A second reason is to adapt our management approach during the project. Remember the fact that a teenager does not want to be treated as a baby. Well, the way you manage the project during its realization will be different from the approaches taken during the startup of the project. A third reason why you should use a project management lifecycle is to bring structure. Instead of having one blurry project, you already start to structuring the timeline. And we all know structure brings calmness and rest, because it reduces the chaos and it brings order for the work to be done. A fourth reason is to reduce the likelihood of having the student syndrome disease on your project. If you want to know more about the student syndrome and other possible project diseases, I'll leave you a link below to another movie in our About Project Management channel. A fifth important reason to use a project management lifecycle is to enable project controls. The end of a phase can, after all, be arranged in such a way that the work and deliverables of that phase are reviewed and approved. Well, it is the typical application of the validate scope process. You should even organize formal sequencing of phases by organizing go, no-go control points between those phases, organized, for example, via project steering groups. But it seems there are a lot of different life cycles, and how many do you have to implement on your project? Well, basically, there is only one project life cycle. However, this project lifecycle is decomposed at least into two levels. The first level is called the project management lifecycle and has the sole purpose to structure the project's timeline into small numbers of distinct blocks. It is quite generic and can or should be used on all kinds of projects, whatever their intended result or project type is. Even agile projects using an iterative approach will have a linear project management lifecycle. The second level, below that project management lifecycle, and hopefully aligned with it as much as possible, is what we call the project delivery lifecycle. Its purpose is to structure the timeline of the work to be done to realize the project product or result. It is highly related to the project at hand, and as every project is unique, also the project delivery lifecycle is different for each project. In a traditional approach, you might want to use a software development lifecycle, whilst in an agile project, you will rather go with the iterative sprints. In any case, on all projects, you will have one project lifecycle consisting of two levels: the project management lifecycle and the aligned project delivery lifecycle. Now, how can you easily create a project management lifecycle that is applicable on almost any project? Well, it is quite simple, as a project always has 5 distinctive stages where similar work is delivered. A project has always a start and an end. So there should be at least a phase that will combine all related activities to starting up the project, and a phase that organizes the ending of the project. Starting up activities relate to getting the project approved, for example, whilst ending relates to the activities to close down the project. Like, for example, documentation archiving, closing contracts, evaluating team members, and so on. In other words, you will need a start and a stop phase. But once your project is approved, it should be defined as well. A scope or an initial backlog when it is an agile project needs to be built. Some tools like document storage or Kanban boards need to be organized. A decent schedule or sprint cadence need to be considered. You could combine that work into a kind of study phase. And once the study phase has been done, the real work can start. All the realization work is typically combined in a kind of, well, let's call it do phase. And sometimes forgotten, but very crucial to the success of a project, is that you also organize the transfer of the created project product or result to the client stakeholders of that project. It is the phase of work where the keys are handed over to the responsibility of the owner. Therefore, a kind of transfer phase is also worthwhile to consider. So, to summarize above, these 5 phases composes our high-level project management lifecycle, and will look like something like start, study, do, transfer, and stop. You should professionalize that a little bit by giving it some more sounding and professional names. So you could consider starting up, conceptualization, realizing, handing over, and closure. Sounds already better, don't you think? It is very important, by the way, to spend some time on naming the phases of the project management lifecycle. But I'll leave that topic for another video. As always, our disclaimer: do not use this information to prepare for the exam. Do not worry, the information is correct and in line with PMI's PMBOK, but as the information is practical oriented, the terminology and nuances that I use might be confusing when preparing for the PMP exam. Of course, PMI and PMBOK are registered trademarks and copyrighted. You can find more information on their website www.pmi.org. I hope you enjoyed these practical tips and tricks. If you like what we do or want to see more or have a chat, you can always hit some things here: the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in one of my other videos. Till then,